Good Morning Breakfast with Bacon fans. You don't have to be a parent today to know that there is something sinister going on in our country, going on in our schools. And my guest today, Elena Barbera, captured part of what's going on because she was getting fed up with what she saw and she put it on film. She is the producer of American Groomer. The kids are not all right. And I'm going to let her do more of the talking because what you're going to see is stuff that I think has started to percolate, but the mainstream media isn't going to show it to you. So, Elena, thank you for coming on to the show. I'm so happy you're here.
So happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, where should I start?
Yeah, okay. So tell us a little bit about American Groomer. We're going to play a clip in a little bit. We're going to play the trailer. Tell us a little bit about it and why you decided to do this film.
So the reasons are twofold. One, like many regular Americans that I know, I've just been sitting around for years now watching my country on fire, and for so many different areas. There's so many problems we have, and I felt helpless, and I had started to really pray and think about, like, what can I be doing? What should I be doing? That's more. And do I run for office? What do I do? And running for office, I never felt called to do that. And so I was sitting around the dinner table last summer and talking to my family, about my larger family, on a Sunday dinner, and talking to them about what's going on in schools, that the media is saying that there are book bans going on by, right-wing Nazi fascists, whatever they call us, and we want for censorship. So I started really looking into what these books were that they were saying we wanted to censor, and it turns out that these books are so extremely vulgar. These are vulgar at any age, for even by adult standards. And I mean, I'm talking about kink, S&M, masturbation, group sex, all kinds of things. And when I really started to dig in, I started to also do research on what grooming it means. What does childhood sexual abuse mean and look like? And what are the long-term effects of it? And I realized that we're setting our children up in our schools in all 50 states to be sexually abused. We are already, by grooming them, sexually abusing them, because showing a child pornography is in the definition of sexual abuse. And now we're setting them up and priming them to be ready for predators, whether those predators are in their family, whether they're online, whether they're sex traffickers, whether they're other children who've been sexually abused, who are ready to abuse another child. We're priming our kids.
I'm just so glad you said the word pornography, because in essence, that's what it is. And it's in school systems as young as kindergarten. Porn, images for our children to look at.
Images, stories, normalizing behaviors that they are physically, mentally, emotionally, socially not ready for. We have decades and decades of science and research that proves that our children are not ready for this. And we even have laws in place to protect children from pornography. So they're called harmful for minors statutes, criminal statutes. So if you show a kid pornography in a playground, in the mall, in a coffee shop, you're leaving in handcuffs because you're a perv. But if you show, in 39 states, if you show it to that child on the other side of a threshold in a school or a library, you're exempt from criminal prosecution because it's educational.
Just makes my blood boil.
You could have knocked me over with a feather when I discovered that. I discovered that in the process of making this film, and I didn't even know how bad it was.
I've seen people talk about this before, and every time someone tries to talk at a board meeting or something, their microphone gets shut off or whatever. I still, I don't want to give anybody any extra spotlight than they need, but do you happen to have any of those books near you that you could read a sentence or two to give parents an idea of what the heck we're talking about, just how vulgar it gets? And again, I ask God to bless us to cover ears that shouldn't be around. If your child's nearby, don't have them near, because though this is probably available in their school library, this is not what we want them to hear. But just so you parents are put up in arms to know what is being called educational.
Yeah, I don't have the pages bookmarked. I'm gonna find
I
you.
didn't tell her in advance that I was going to be asking her to read, so forgive me.
I should have been ready, but that's okay. We're gonna find it because there's so much in here. I am definitely looking for a particular excerpt that has gained a lot of notoriety. Oh, here we go. I found it.
What's the name
So
of the book?
this is one of the more famous books that you're going to hear talked about, genderqueer, but there are literally hundreds of books in this genre now circulating through American public schools in classrooms and libraries. And they're not in the curriculum formally, but they're being brought in by the librarians and teachers, and in some cases being made required reading that are off curriculum.
Wait, am I looking at the front cover? Is that an award? That circle there, did they win an award for something?
This is a Stonewall Honor Book from the American Library Association. So the American Library Association, who we automatically trust to be curators of knowledge for our children, they are actively and unabashedly pushing LGBTQIA gender bending ideology and sexuality and sexual content on our children. So this book that I'm about to read from you received an award from the American Library Association for a book in 2020 for books that have adult books that have special appeal to kids that are age 12 and older. They call it the Alex Award. That's different from this other award that they gave it. So this, according to them,
should be in our children's hands.
Is appropriate for ages 12 and up. This is a text exchange between two adults in the book. These are the captions that I'll be reading on this text exchange. I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You are going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside me. And these are the images. So we think about librarians and we trust them. This is what the American Library Association, which is in public and school libraries in all 50 states. This is what they're awarding and pushing. That's just one example. Later in this book, it guides kids to go to kink.com, which is a very violent S&M website. But even this book, Let's Talk About It, The Teen's Guide to Sexual Relationships and Being Human. It talks about orgies, anal masturbation, talks about how STDs are no biggie because, you can get medicine for them now. Talks about, it pictures like this, masturbation cartoons. It could just, and I don't even think I'm cutting the surface.
Yeah. And it's sickening.
I could do this all day. I could do this all day. There's so much vulgarity in so many books. So the American Library Association, the Human Rights Campaign, which has a very nice name, doesn't it? No, they are pushing, they have materials in schools in all 50 states. They have lists and lists of books about sexuality and gender that are age appropriate from pre-K up until 12th grade. They have programming and films and content that they provide to schools to teach this stuff. Pre-K.
When I should be believing in Santa Claus.
Yes.
You're
being taught. Now this is, so we always like to say, they're being taught that they may be born in the wrong body. Beyond that, so what groomers do is they put up a wall between a parent and a child because the parent is the best protector of the child in a normal household, right? So not only are they telling children you may be born in the wrong body, they are telling children that when you were born, they assigned your sex at birth and your parents may have gotten it wrong. So they're now they're planting seeds of doubt in little kids' minds about who their parents are. Now, when you have a 3 or 4-year-old or 5-year-old, they look at you like you are the son of sets. You're God. Right. They love you. They just want a hug or a pat on the head or to talk with you. But now they're looking at you going, yeah, you don't even know what you're talking about. That's what they're planting, those seeds of walls to put up between children and parents from that age. We are in a battle of good versus evil, and I cannot get it out enough. I just want people to see this film. If they see it and they don't feel anything, they are lost, move on. But most people, everyone that actually has seen it, has come back and said to me, I cannot believe what I just saw. I can't believe this is real. And that it's happening in all 50 states. They just don't know. Just don't know. Parents are too busy. We're on autopilot. You know, everybody's on their phones. They're either working all day, they come home, they got to cook dinner, give them a bath, hurry up through the homework, put the kids to bed and do it over the next day. No one's paying attention. No one has the time, even if they truly do care. We have to change our entire way of life and start focusing on raising our children again.
You know what makes me sad too, Elena, is that I can talk to my grandchildren, my nieces, my nephews, no matter how young they are, and say, has anybody in your class sent pictures of their body parts to each other? Like, oh, everybody. A conversation I never thought I'd have. Oh yeah, they all do it.
Wow. It is
not my friends, but so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why don't we just actually, before we talk more about it, we're going to do some screen share, and I want you to play the trailer of the movie American Groomer. The kids are not all right.
Okay.
The effort to ban books is accelerating across this country.
Are you guys familiar with either of these books?
Just in school?
I don't think it will be shown in a school. I don't think it's a part of education.
Up until about 5 minutes ago, I was just your average American mother. Then Sonny put me on YouTube and we started speaking our minds.
Have you heard of the based mother?
What started out as fun has turned into a mission I never saw coming. One to protect America's children from being sexualized by our school system. What would you think of a teacher that wanted to talk about this with his or her students? They should be jailed.
The teachers are not responsible for teaching my great-grandchildren. I was sticking up somebody's ass.
Well, if you or I gave it to kids in school, parents would have us locked up. It's literally sexual abuse of children.
I think that's what makes books like these really important and in a lot of ways beautiful toward the human experience, because they tell us what it's like to be someone else.
You won't hear this on the mainstream media, but these really important books are loaded with filth that isn't fit for children.
You just gotta get out. I love all kind of people, all genders, but this is wrong for a child to see that right now.
I showed these books on YouTube and got banned for it, but that's all right. I brought it to people the Gen X way, face to face. Showing a child pornography and forcing a child to have sexual conversations. That is in the definition of sexual abuse. While I was out there, I found out it was even worse than I imagined. I can get arrested for showing it to a kid in the mall, but if I cross the threshold into a school, it's okay to show it to them there. Right.
Oh my God.
There's no reason for that to be given to kids.
Now that you've gotten a glimpse into these books, will you be adding these to your homeschool?
Absolutely not. I feel like it's better that they learn it at school.
Yeah, that's just.
Did that last mother say, I think it's better that they learn that at school?
Yes, that's why I included her. She was somebody that I interviewed on the street in Times Square. And when she said that, I could have fallen over, because how exactly should a librarian or
Mm-hmm.
teacher be having a conversation about anal masturbation with a child without it being wildly
I'm 59 years
appropriate.
old and I've never heard of anal masturbation. I thought I've heard it all. And that is what's so pathetic and angering, that my grandchild can learn about this filth
You can go your whole life without knowing about that.
and succeed
and procreate and raise generations
and get my kids to heaven like I want.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this will send a soul to hell. This
Wow.
is so okay. So why you? What made you like, oh, not only no, but hell no. This isn't that. Well, what lit that fire under you and said, I must do this film?
So when I was talking to my family and they were just denying the truth And I realized, how I knew how damaging it was. And I started, like I said, doing the research and seeing that children who are sexually abused are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide in adulthood. They're more likely to use illicit drugs. They are guaranteed to have PTSD. They're more likely to become alcoholics, to be overweight, to develop cancer, heart disease, and even suffer from poverty, because the effects of childhood sex, and they are more likely to become abusers themselves of other children as adults. When they become adults, they
6
can
out of
become
10 who were abused will abuse.
will abuse. So the cycle is vicious beyond before we get to the eternal damnation. We're talking about just life in this world. It creates a lifetime of pain and suffering and mental anguish, and a lot of times physical anguish, because when children are sexually abused, they are more likely to, as children and adults, get STDs. And so on, and be tethered to have abortions and live with the trauma of an abortion, which we completely deny as a society now, but that's a whole nother story. We act like it's just not like, getting a cavity filled these days, or that's how the young people talk about it. So all of these things are just made light and airy, but really it is darkness and hell and pain for people while they're going through it, and then into adulthood as well. And that is what made me say enough is enough. Our children are being bullied into this, because if a kid says, I don't want to read this, it makes me uncomfortable, they are told that they're bigots and they're transphobes and they're bullies and they're hateful, because it is all underneath this rainbow umbrella of gender identity. And we're just supposed to accept this world where anything goes, and we have no more rules, no more standards, everything's acceptable. And I've just had enough. I've had enough. I'm watching our border being invaded. I'm watching our economy, people get crushed by inflation. I'm watching people get killed, and murdered, and just the crime is rampant. I'm watching people get discriminated against because they brought back racism, and now this. And I just had to do something. Like, oh, look at me. I'm getting fired up, because I am
fired up,
angry.
sister. So am I. I'll look inside, I'm seething.
I love my country, and I hate bullies. And we are all being bullied by our own government right now, because they have their hands in this. So all this gender stuff that they're teaching kids, you'd realize the Equality Act, which is being, the president just mentioned it again in his last State of the Union address. The Equality Act is all of like 5 lines. And basically what it says is that no matter what your gender identity is, you can go into any dressing room, locker room, or restroom. So they are trying to normalize this from pre-K for children, so that by the time that they get into a bathroom, or your little girl gets into a bathroom with a grown man who's naked, she's supposed to think that's normal. And if she opens her mouth, she's a bigot. This is what they're doing to our kids. And we know from the Bible, from common sense, from decades of science and research, that it's wrong. And they're shoving it down our throats, telling us that we're wrong. We know we're not. We know we're not.
Do you have kids?
I have one. He's 20 years old, and I'm very glad that I didn't see this when he was in school, but I'm very in close touch with the people in Boston, my friends in Boston, because we left there. The school he went to from kindergarten through 6th grade, in kindergarten, they're reading gender ideology, gender confusing books to the kindergartners. And now for the past several years, they've had this gender bending play come in, where they talk about how kids, you can be anything or anyone. So in this like Italian neighborhood in Brooklyn, which was very machismo and very family oriented and very Catholic, this is what's happening in the public school. That's the anchor of that neighborhood.
What besides the people in the film? Well, first of all, your son, what has he said about the film? Unless you want to plead the fifth for him, what have other people said about the film?
Well, he and his friends generally, on the topic of seeing young people be over-sexualized, they actually don't like it. So here's this like group of young men between the ages of 19 and 22 who I've watched grow up from toddlers. who Sonny still hangs out with. And they just think this whole thing is atrocious because they're seeing the way young girls act with their Instagram pages, and everything is about being hypersexualized. And a lot of girls they grew up with have OnlyFans pages where they make money in basically what is pornography. And they look around and they think, how are we ever going to find a girl to marry and raise a family with if this is who we're choosing from? So they're also
Thank
like
God that they do
really
that way.
they're living in this generation of insanity.
It's
And
just
they don't
filthy.
like it.
I
don't
just
like
want to take a shower. You just want to wash it off you and you can't.
I get really mad when I watch the film that I made. It doesn't like the feeling of disgust does not go away.
It keeps coming back.
Drives me, keeps me going, you know. So now I'm starting to get more active and get involved. There's an organization I recommend called Take Back the Classroom. And what they're doing is they have a little army of volunteers who are going district by district around the country and requesting information from the districts because they have the right to get the lists of books that are in schools. And then they're finding all the vulgar stuff and putting it on their website so that parents can look it up. Now, there are 13,000 plus school districts in America, so this is going to be a little bit of a
Challenge.
challenge, but they're doing it. And then they're training parents on how to go and get those books removed through the school board, through their local city councils, through their state houses. And they're also traveling around the country speaking at state houses and fighting for parental rights to be able to do this. So that's a really smart organization that's really getting surgical about this. And so I'm joining forces with them, and we're going to be doing some events online and in person together because I want to take this film to more people so that they can learn the truth and again get them to activate. Parents need to know we cannot sit on autopilot anymore.
No, you can't trust anymore. Trust is gone. You can't trust the nation. You can't trust your politicians. You can't trust your president. You can't trust your church leaders many times.
Yeah.
You can't trust, you have to be the number one overseer. You've got to be diligent and you've got to be the shepherd watching your sheep.
Right. But I say to people, you know, I'll hear parents say, oh, I talked to my kid when they know that's all nonsense. And I say to them, listen to me, you cannot dip your kid in a vat of poison for 8 hours a day, then come home, give the kid a bath and think it's not going to affect them. And that's what's happening in our public schools. I have become a very strong advocate of homeschooling. And I grew up in a time when, hey, homeschoolers were weird.
Just the geeky, weird kids.
Weird kids. Yeah. You know, now I look at the homeschoolers and these kids are so blessed.
And healthy.
Healthy, socially well-adjusted. All the stigmas are lies. They do better on standardized tests. They get more college scholarships. They get accepted in early acceptance more than public school or even private school kids. And so everything about it is a lie. And if raising our children isn't our top priority, what is? What is? What are we doing?
So, how long is the film and who is it meant for? Is it just meant to get in the hands of anybody, get in the theater, get in the hands of parents, or do you have specific targets that you're trying to get it into the hands of?
So it is 36 minutes. It's pretty fast paced. It's about paced like as fast as the trailer. Like I don't mess around because I had 10 hours of stuff. I could have made it 10 hours long, but I wanted to get through a certain, few certain really important points. And I made it free because it is extremely important that people see it, more important than them paying for it. People can make a contribution to my work if they want to, but that's not the point. So I want to start with parents, grandparents, and teachers. Those are my first group of people. And then I want more legislators seeing it, and it's starting to happen. But the parents and the grandparents are the ones who are really going to have to get in this fight and make it stop and start protecting our children. And if we have to all pull our kids out of the school until it collapsed and let the system collapse and then rebuild it and let them, if they can ever find a way to focus again on reading and writing and history and science, instead of who were you attracted to? Whoever says to a child, who were you sexually attracted to, should be
in jail.
In jail. Yes, in jail. And and now it's been normalized. So that's the first group. The teachers, problem with the teachers is, so the younger teachers, when they're in college learning to be taught to be teachers, they're being indoctrinated with social change. So everything is about DEI, race card, climate change, and sexuality, rather than really teaching them. So they come out ready to decorate. You used to have teachers decorating their classrooms in ABCs and history and historic, founding father posters and things. And now it's all about rainbow flags. You see it all over the place.
You know that all of these come from Saul Alinsky wrote the book Rules for Radicals. It's a communist handbook. It talks about separating kids from parents. It talks about educating them early in your views. I mean, we could go into it. So many people say, oh, there's no communism in America. I'm like, you're so into it, you don't even see it. That's what communism is. It's insidious. It has entered.
I saw a meme recently that said, I'm old enough to remember when we fought against communists instead of voting them into office. Yeah. And this is where what we've done, but the older group of teachers who look at this stuff and they say, I don't want to deal with this. They're forced into it because the teachers unions are pushing it on them. The school districts that they work for and the city councils who run the school districts are pushing it on them. So they've, you got 20 years vested. All you really want to do is retire in a few years and get your pension and get out. So they're all just keeping their mouths shut. And, especially when they live in big cities, they can't afford to quit or lose their jobs. So the teachers are being bullied into this also. And they're fighting against this other group of teachers that think this is cool. And we should be talking to kids about sex from a little age.
Well, and many of them know it's wrong because when COVID first happened and we saw some videos, I remember a video of a man who was a teacher, and he was, as one of your titles was there, he was definitely looked like a flamer, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, teachers, we've got to be careful because now that our kids are learning from home, there are adult ears around. So you have to find different ways of teaching them what you teach them. I'm like, what are you teaching my kid that adult ears can't hear? And it was so obvious. But again, the mainstream media won't cover that either. We can't count on the media. We don't trust them.
Absolutely not. We cannot trust them. And again, why you can ask yourself, why the agenda to sexualize children? And then we see coming up from the ether, more and more people saying we can't call pedophiles anymore because of
they're maps, right? Yes. They're minor attracted persons. Mm-hmm. My mother was sexually abused by her father for 10 years, beginning around age 2 or 3. And she says any minor attracted person is sick because they are like my dad was. And, so call it what you want. But, we can make everyone live it. So we're going to put a link to the film right here in the show notes. But how do you advise people to start getting the word out? Because I know that part of what you guys do is awareness. That was your mission, right? You wanted to let people know what's going on because you know that the media is hiding it, and then you want them to take action. So the film's going to get out there. We want as many, maybe have groups, have a family event, maybe have your kids' classmates, some parents over to your house, play the film.
It's just the parents, not the kids.
That's what I mean. The parents of their classmates.
Yes, if you can bring parents together for a viewing party at your house, if you can have this shown at a small group at your church, if you know your local politicians and you can get them to come and sit and watch this film and commit to it, if you can, email it, share it on social media, those would all be incredible starts. And I'm also, if people want to do, an online viewing party and they get, they can get people together and they want me to pop in and have a few words with them and talk to them about what they can do, I'm willing to do that. Whatever it takes to stop this. And the reason that, and now it's urgent because our children are being harmed and they're being convinced that Either they should get themselves hooked up to the medical industrial complex with puberty blockers and sex change surgeries, which, you know, are just insane, the side effects, or they're, you know, being sexualized and, you know, primed for sexual abuse. But we also are in an election year where if we can get enough people out there to see this and understand who's pushing it, we can make a difference this year in November, and it has to happen. So I
It's the
am
grassroots.
I am hitting the gas. You know, I'm alone, and my team now, I'm teaming up a little bit with Take Back the Classroom and other organizations. But I made this film just myself and my editor. And you know, I had no sponsorship, no money. I put in my own money. All of these press appearances that I've been blessed with, that is all the hand of God coming in and helping me, because I'm administering all that alone right now. But I can't hit the gas hard enough. I'm fighting. And I don't say any of that about me to like, oh, I'm so great, I did this. It is really to tell people that, one, I need your help. And two, you can make a difference too. You don't need special skills. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be famous. You don't need to be well-connected. I am none of those things. And I am making a difference with this. So everybody can make a difference, and don't feel like you just have to sit at your kitchen table and in shock and watch the TV and wonder what's going on in your country. Let's stand up together.
How much did it cost you to make it?
I made it for around $6,000,
Oh, fantastic.
which is unheard of.
Nothing. Yeah.
Unheard of. I mean, if people with a real budget for a documentary, they, you know, they spend $6,000 on lunch. Like it's just, I've told a couple of real filmmakers what I've done, and they couldn't believe it. And we were in Boston, New York, DC, Florida, Virginia, up and down. We traveled on a shoestring budget and just pulled it all together. And we were lean and mean and fast about it.
If you had more money, what would you spend it on? If people donate, what would you be doing? Traveling, media?
It's
What would it
right.
be?
It'll be traveling. It'll be creating more ancillary content, you know, creating additional content, because my editor volunteered on the film because he believes in this cause. But you know, we've already made an agreement. He can't continue to volunteer forever because we have bills to pay. So yeah, so I would be bringing him on again and saying, let's go do more interviews. Let's film at school board meetings. Let's get out there and just create more and more compelling content that'll help to push this forward and get people active in their school boards and voting differently.
So if people want to get a hold of you, or they want to donate money, where do we send them?
That's on the same website as where they can watch the film for free. It's AmericanGroomerFilm.com, and they can find the donation link if they want to. They can watch the film, watch the trailer, follow me on social media, or reach out to me if they have a media inquiry. And you know, they want to talk to me about an appearance either on a show like this, or you know, a private web event with a church or whoever. They can find me there.
AmericanGroomerFilm.com. Yeah,
That's
we
it.
need to do that. One of the other things I was going to ask you, it just totally went out of my brain, which makes me frustrated when that happens. That's blonde, right? That's blonde, or that's 59.
Yeah, no, that's not blonde, because I'm not blonde, and that happens.
It happens to you too. Oh, yeah, I did forget what I was going to ask you, but I was pretty enthralled with what you were saying. So, oh boy, that doesn't happen to me on the air that much, though. I am really, oh, I know what it was. So what kind of feedback are you, so feedback is good, but I guess what I'm looking for, because I always like the positive, have you had a success story? Have you had a parent or a grandparent or someone or teacher come to you and say, because of your movie, this is what I did, and I'm so excited it changed?
One thing that, not yet, I haven't had that yet, but I'm waiting for that, and I know it's coming. But just a couple weeks ago on Twitter, there was a transgender activist, you know, with all the crazy flags in their bio, coming at me saying, I'm a liar, I'm a bigot, I'm all the things. And I said, well, why don't you watch the film? Watch my film and see what you think. And they came back, I would never watch that film. I know you didn't do any research, and you know, it's all going to be lies. I said, all right, well, you're not doing research by not watching the film. watch it. And if you still think I'm a liar and there's nothing valid in it, then, come at me again. So that person agreed, which was a huge step, because they don't even usually agree to look at things that they might disagree with.
Right.
And a couple hours later, I got a response to the tweet that said, I watched the film and I admit I didn't realize how bad it had gotten.
Wow.
And I was shocked.
That's a huge success story right there.
Yeah, it really, and it gave me such a rush
Fire.
of energy and inspiration to because you need to refuel, and because it gets discouraging sometimes when I see what's happening to the kids and I feel like I'm not fighting hard enough or it's not happening fast enough. And then when I got something like that, when I could take somebody who was saying that I was a hateful bigot and then coming back and saying, wow, I can't believe what I just saw. It was really encouraging.
I sometimes save this question for the end, but I want to ask you right now. If it's a fill in the blank, when I die, I will know my life has been a success
if I performed the duties that God laid out for me faithfully.
Yeah. And I think this is one of them.
I think so too. I know it is. I know it is.
so
I prayed, and
powerful.
this is what, I was led to do. And so, yeah, that's what I want. I want him to be able to say, wow, you came around, because the first half of your life you were a little, but you came
I
around.
think a lot of us are going to hear God say that.
Yeah.
Boy, were you a screw up back then, but hey, you're good now.
Wow, you really got it together, kid, and you really finally listened and honored, the reasons that I brought you into this world. And
Wow.
yeah, I think he gave me this personality for a reason.
And put you in New York, that little feisty Brooklyn girl that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
the
then-
quietest one in my family, if you can
Oh,
believe.
geez, right? I'm not. No one would say that. So name one thing you'd have our listeners or viewers do differently as a result of something they heard today.
If you don't have the luxury of getting the children that you love out of school, because it's either not your decision or financially, to make, or financially you can't afford it, and at least get them off of the internet when they get home, because they're being poisoned all day in school, and then they're coming home and they're being poisoned by the media. Even children's entertainment is over sexualized. That's something that we've been seeing for a long time, and it's just gone hyper sexualized now. So I would say, just take those kids and do stuff with them. We're going to leave our phones home and we're going out. We're going for ice cream. We're going to the park. We're going on an adventure, whatever it is. Go take these kids back to 1920 and show them how life is lived. That's what I would say you can definitely do, to at least give them a few hours of purity every day.
Oh, that's awesome. Or maybe even take a book with you and read it to them while you're sitting on the hill in the park, lapping your ice cream.
None of these books, an old book, good old
Yeah.
fashioned book. Yeah.
Little House on the Prairie. Oh, wow. What a blessing it has been to have you on the show. We talked a while ago, and I'm so grateful we finally made the date work. And hopefully the show won't get censored. That has happened. And we'll figure out a way to get this message out, because the powers that be just don't want it out there.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right, because we know who wins in the end.
But either way, if you don't see this show on YouTube, you'll be watching it on either Rumble or my website, breakfastwithbacon.com, because I'm going to make sure this gets out there. If it's censored there, I'm going to start sending it out in my newsletter and the places where they can't censor us. So sign up
Thank
for
you.
my newsletter. Go to breakfastwithbacon.com, and there will be links to shows like this, all the fantastic guests that God brought me. It'll talk about our conference that we're doing in October, Truth Speakers, Disrupting the Culture with Truth Conference. It's our 3rd annual, October 12th here in Virginia Beach at the beautiful Founders Inn. Father Chris Alar is our headliner. We have Christine Watkins, Daniel O'Connor, Mark Mallet, and myself will be speaking. And, you know, we just want to win souls for Christ. And so go to truthspeakers.org and get your tickets, because you could sit with one of the speakers, but Father Chris's table's already sold out. Anyway, like me on all the social media things, the Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble. I think I got them all. And anything that you want them to like you on, are you on social media where they need to find you, or just stick with the link I'm giving them?
They can find it all on that link, but yeah, if they want to find me on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, I'm the Based Mother on those channels.
The BASED Mother, MOTHER.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I hope this show has blessed you like it has blessed me. Let's get out there, get the word, so that everyone knows what filth they're trying to put into our children's brains, and let's get it out. Let's fight it. Let's be warriors for the kingdom, because if you're not, you will have to answer to God for it. We need to be unified to save the children. So anyway, I think that's it for now. I think you remember how we end it, right, Elena? Got it? Okay. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. You've been watching Breakfast with Bacon, and I'd like to remind you to live your life
Sunny side up.
Yay. You remembered.